And yeah, so we're at TwitchCon and just got done with a panel about how to stream board games, and we thought it could be fun to come on here and actually chat with some Twitch viewers and cover some of the same stuff that we did there and kind of why we do this. I'm Anthony Hansis with Forged by Geeks. This is my wife Nicole, also with Forged by Geeks. And on the other side, we've got Heroic Logic. He's a specialist doing some really cool dev stuff. And then we've got partner streamers here with us at CritCamp.
We're not worthy. We are not worthy.
Actually, you are.
Millie walked in.
I think we're not.
Yeah. This is Chris and I'm Lyle.
So we'd love to hear some questions from people. Other than that, I think we're going to get going. So since you guys are the partner guys, I think it'd be best if we start with you guys. So like a little bit about what got you streaming in the first place.
Well, what got us streaming was, we've talked about this a lot on stream, is that, we basically we do our show remotely, which is a little bit different about what's great about this community is we all have different formats. We were saying that after the thing here, that, you guys are in person, everyone's doing their own thing. We're remote, so every one of our guests comes on either via Skype, or we're always, of course, trying different aspects, and the different ways to bring him in, but he can be in Nashville, I can be in Pennsylvania now. Yep. We've had people from the UK on, various developers, indie developers, and that kind of thing. For a while, we wanted to create a map of like where everyone's been and try to get a person from every state. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes we've streamed from 4 different time zones in one stream. Which is always real good time.
Oh wow!
But basically, in short, we used to live together in Astoria, New York, which we would play board games together then.
We did a weekly game night then, and sort of, life takes you in different places.
Yeah.
We moved away, but we wanted to keep that going. So we had to find a way to do it remotely.
Right.
And sort of Skype, multiple webcams,
and that was like real ghetto.
Yeah,
it was like
real bad
It was like,
setup.
I think we can do it, and then I was like, wait, what's going on? We were starting to watch Twitch a lot with, folks like Trump, who we just saw on your panel earlier, which was really cool, and watching Hearthstone video game streams, and noticed that the board game channel, it was kind of there, like someone had experimented. It didn't exist, communities didn't exist 3 years
not
ago.
at all.
There was a lot of things, there wasn't anything going on. I watched a lot of stuff like Beer and Board Games. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them.
No.
I think they're in Wisconsin. I might be wrong. It might be
Midwest.
He said Wisconsin for a second.
Yeah, it's Midwest.
Just
They're
have to force
awesome.
that in there.
And there was a lot of people on YouTube doing it. Geek and Sundry was doing stuff with Will
Rado.
Beaton. There was a lot of people doing YouTube, post stuff, and live to their own websites. And I said, why don't we do that since we're playing anyway and see what happens? And
I thought it was crazy. At the beginning.
He's like, all right.
I was like, if you want to, live stream our gameplay, I mean, let's do it. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the exact question. Like, when we were first thinking about doing some board game streaming, my theory was, I'm making board games. I need a way to get this out there. I don't have a big YouTube channel. Getting big reviewers to review some indie board games from somebody who's never made it before, this is a nightmare. I'm looking at Twitch, and I go up to Twitch, and I find the board games thing.
Yeah.
And there was literally no one streaming when I looked at it. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
How is no one streaming this? And I'm like, well, hell, if no one else is streaming it, I might as well give it a shot. What's the worst that happens? No one watches?
And that's the boon for creation in a lot of aspects, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like if something's lacking, make it happen.
Yeah, and the thing is, remember, it doesn't have to be board games. People can not watch you no matter what you're streaming.
Yeah.
So true. It's like I'm not being paid for this. The Penny Arcade t-shirt. I love that Penny Arcade t-shirt. Okay. Stream like nobody's watching.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It is so true.
Oh, yeah.
And it feels like even more so with board games to me. I used to stream some video games, and I was getting like 70 concurrent viewers, all that kind of stuff. It was nice. It was great. I didn't enjoy it, but it was like, how did I get there? I was just talking about the anime I watched last night, and suddenly somebody started replying to me. And eventually enough people joined in, we actually started talking about the game I was playing.
Yeah.
And it's a bit the same way with board games.
Yeah.
You have to stream, you have to talk. And even more so with board games, people don't understand what you're playing. A lot of the people watching, Panda! Hey Twist Gaming, thanks for joining.
Hi, Twist Gaming. What up, Twist?
Another partner streamer, probably the only other one. But you have to constantly be talking, and you have to it's like the way I explain it is it's like when you're doing interviews, like for work, and you're trying to get a job. They tell you, what are you thinking while you're giving me the answer?
sure.
It's the same thing. What are you thinking while you're playing the game? Why are you doing this move? Why can you do this move?
Well, what's nice is once you start, I mean, like you said, you're streaming sometimes like nobody's watching. I mean, some people do
That's
stream.
where I'm at. 0 or 1.
Yeah, well,
1, 2.
And that makes it actually more difficult, right? Because, I mean, right here, Twist just jumped in and put something up. It gives us some sort of content to base things off of. And what's nice is, and this happens to us a lot, sometimes we put the chat on screen, as well.
Yeah.
So that so on YouTube, the viewership understands what's going on.
Yes.
But it gives us a chance to sort of take a break and let chat breathe in a bit.
Yeah.
It lets them step in, and they'll be having a conversation, and we'll be having a conversation, sometimes parallel, and then you jump in and like, oh, even what are you drinking tonight? Oh, that's beer. The next thing you know, you're talking about beer, and then you're sitting there looking at the chat, and if there's chat there, you display it on the screen. I know it's kind of getting away from what we're talking about because you don't want to stop talking. What if you're showing it works? But I hear what you're saying.
exactly.
I think one of the major things that we wanted to do when we started our channel was definitely have the vibe that anybody that was out there that was watching us was coming sort of into our house, and like it was going to be like that kind of sort of casual game night sort of atmosphere, right?
Exactly.
So and when it comes to that, it's not just about the game that you're playing, it's just about the conversation that happens around the game.
Yeah, it's a party happening. We're having fun playing a board game, and maybe you've never played Zombicide.
Yes.
And hey, what are you guys playing? Hey, Dr. Disrespect.
Thing is, you bring burpees, beer, and you bring.
Well, no, what's funny you say that?
Yes.
Is that chat causes that?
Yes,
Like, I don't bring burpees.
That's
you
true.
cause my
That's
burpees.
right. We're able to make. Yes, we're able
Also-
to make the contribute to the party that's going on. But it does feel
And you're
when
right.
you're streaming like it's a party, and you add things to make it an entertaining party, but then we're interacting with it.
Yeah.
And now with
still moving the game forward.
And now with streaming video games, it's almost always one person on the stream. One of the things I love about board game streams is it's always 2 to 4 people usually, sometimes more, sometimes a little, very rarely one. If you're streaming with one person, get somebody to help you, please.
Well, I need help. Yeah.
But it's like you have multiple people, so you have conversations going on there that you're having, and it can just spiral and be in awesome, unusual directions. And I find, at least in our case, it's been a lot easier to build with our community kind of in-jokes. You start to get really interesting
All the
in-jokes.
memes, right?
Yeah. Like
the kids
wardrobe
say.
expert.
yes,
Very nice.
yes. There was a game a round of Kingdom Death we played. Every single stream, I drew a card called Wardrobe Expert. It never failed. It just kept happening.
And there's got to be at least 50 cards in this
Yeah,
damn
yeah,
deck.
right.
And I'm
What are
only
the odds?
drawing one each time, and it was Wardrobe Expert. And I'm showing on screen, I'm shuffling on screen, and I'm mixing up and having her tell me when to stop and stuff. And Wardrobe Expert.
Right.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
One thing I've seen solo YouTube streamers do that could work as well on Twitch is they play two-handed.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Rado is playing with his wife.
Right.
Another person is playing with a little figure.
Sure.
And so there's kind of, you're sharing the thought of playing the game, but then you're having this, creating the person that's sitting there playing it with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so even then, you get a sense that there's something going on at the table, even if it's
Well, that's another thing that
two-handed.
maybe I just don't see it. But with board games, I see more like you guys. I've seen do it. We've done it. I know Twist Gaming, who's currently on the stream, has done this, where you are streaming a game, and sometimes the creators will actually reach out to you and go, hey, I'd love to be on that stream. Sometimes we reach out to them and are like, hey, would you like to be on the stream? But the creators, more so than I ever seen with any other thing that's being streamed, love to hop in and join. They love to participate. They love to tell you you're playing the game wrong. They love to do all of this stuff. And we lost chat.
Oh. Hi, Google. That's awesome.
Yes.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, she's fixing it.
Okay.
Stop checking your
but that
Facebook
is-
profile.
There we go. We're back. But yeah, it's one of the things where it's something that a lot of the board game streamers are bringing into it, and I think that makes us also a little bit unique and something more interesting to watch as well.
For
That's
sure.
true.
I think that's one of the coolest things that happens when you're playing a game and the designer or developer hops in your chat, and sometimes it's really like nerve-wracking and embarrassing.
Oh,
because
yes.
it's like they like to sneak in right when you're
Super lurking.
right when you're like playing a move or doing a move where you're like, this is super OP, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, can I be doing this?
Well,
and you're like, well, It's like, why would I be able to do that? It's like, well, I don't know why you couldn't, and you just like do it, and then they're in the chat, they're like, you can't do that.
Well, yeah.
and you're like, well, how do you know? How do you know? I'm just gonna do it. You know, there's no rule for that. They're like, I designed it.
Right.
Yeah,
well, the perfect example of that was Stop Thief. And he came in, and that's a game that's been restored, and some people do know the game from the original rules. He popped in, and we were talking about, this is broken, and we were mid-argument with chat, going, this card doesn't make sense. It's
we had
so
some
dumb.
people in chat looking up the
they're like, how would this
for
work? That card shouldn't be played. Like chat was telling us, don't ever play the game that way. And the developer goes in, he's like, I did that on.
That's what I love about board games as opposed to video games. I am a video game developer. I've been for 20-some years. I cannot go onto chat and talk about my game.
No.
Because legal and PR will not
interesting.
let me.
I never thought about that.
I cannot speak. Yes,
Yeah.
I cannot speak about
Actually,
the game.
that makes a lot of sense.
But which has been very frustrating. But in board games, you see the faces. Rob Gambio, Mike Leacock.
Yeah.
They're involved in the community. They'll jump on the stream.
Chris Mansmati
There's
is
a
very
face.
involved.
There's a face behind. I mean, it's kind of an auteur design, but it's great artists as well. It's more personal in board games.
It's interesting.
And
do you think that's well, because we're talking NDAs when it comes to video games. I know they're very
They want
private.
to control the message for video games very
So board games,
tightly.
you say, is actually more of a lax.
Yes.
So just speaking from a board game creator perspective,
That's right. Yeah.
the concept of an NDA in board games is almost non-existent.
Why would you say that is? Because of testing reasons?
Yes.
Or?
So the reality is, video games, you have these large, like you have VMC and other companies that really help with testing and are organized around doing testing.
Yeah.
And they bring in people, they can sign NDAs in bulk. They have people they know they can trust that are coming in that are regulars to help test the stuff, give usability feedback, give all of that. That basically just does not exist in board games. Even like Fantasy Flight, Asmodee and them, they have some people that come in. They also have so many dev teams, they cross-test across the dev teams.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they send their games out and they go to conventions, they go to stores, and they have it tested in public. And you can't do an NDA on that.
That's true.
People are going
That
to
would be
take pictures. Yeah, it's almost unenforceable.
It's rare that you see a board game come out that nobody knows anything about.
Exactly.
Like you can't do that in the board game industry.
Right.
Why would you, right?
And it's
And also, like, don't board game developers tend to work in smaller groups?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
That's
like
true.
on a video game, you've got like
Yeah.
a crazy amount of people.
Dozens,
like an
hundreds.
indie game, maybe it's small, but like for most games that most people are playing, they're freaking huge teams.
So this comes back around to the whole idea of why board game streaming on Twitch and streaming in general of board games is actually really cool and actually works really well in terms of like versus let's say the video game stream's huge, certain folks get early access privileges that other people can't get. With board games, we're actually susceptible to get more offers
Yes.
to do this more, depending on a format, right?
Well, part of that also is the economics of the board game industry is entirely different than the video game industry.
Sure.
So the video game industry, it costs millions of dollars to make a game, tens of millions in most cases these days. Even indie games are hitting the $1 to $2 million mark regularly. And those games...
That's terrifying.
Yeah, it is. And those games, when they go to sell them, like an indie game has to many times sell 200,000 copies plus to break even. Something akin of like Halo, Gears of War, Uncharted, stuff like that. Most people don't realize those have to sell 3 to 4 million copies to break even.
They spend twice as much on marketing as they do development, which is one reason we can't say anything because they want the message.
But
they don't want me saying anything.
But the video games sell those quantities. On the board game side, I'm going to be lucky to sell 2,000 copies of my game. That like you see some of the components of here.
Yeah.
I'm going to be lucky to sell 2,000. Most indies that are larger, they sell maybe 5 to 10,000 copies, and that's all they will sell lifetime of their games. Now, when you start dealing with like the larger publishers, Asmodee and stuff like that, you're talking 25 to maybe 200,000 copies.
Sure.
The industry is $1 billion a year industry, which is awesome, but that's spread across 1,000 games in the market each year, 1,000 new games entering the market, mostly courtesy of Kickstarter. But as a result of that, every new eyeball that a designer gets on the game, if it sells, like sending you a copy of the game, if it sells 5 copies of the game, it was worth it. Right. It was worth it for them to be on your stream to sell 5 copies. You're not going to get the same turnaround with getting a personality for a video game on the stream. You're not going to get, if all of a sudden the lead producer of Call of Duty pops on the top Call of Duty stream on Twitch, he's not going to sell 100,000 more copies by doing so, which would be the equivalent of what he'd have to do.
Yeah, and honestly, I see in video games, I see a lot of developers, like, when a game first comes out, you see a lot of developer interaction on Reddit. You see, like, you know, people who are just part of the thing, like, oh, I'm working on art, I'm taking your feedback into account and stuff, and then you suddenly see that drop off suddenly at one point after the first, like, major customer backlash or Reddit backlash. It's like all of a sudden they're like, oh God, we are playing with fire.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, I've had some backlashes for other people's games as well as my own on Twitch. I'm sure you guys have seen that too, where like, oh, that really sucks. Oh, that game's horrible. Oh, who would ever buy this game?
Sure.
And it's going to happen. But
I mean, it's the same reaction if you'd have a board game at a con. I mean, you would get a review thrown up on Twitter like, played X, and it was awful. The card design's horrible.
But even with that, it's still more valuable to get the exposure.
Well, you get exactly, and more eyes will. I mean, you always say what negative press is almost sometimes better. Like, why is it so bad, et cetera, et cetera.
So
depends, right?
Switching back to more the original purpose of what we're doing
Yeah,
here.
that's the problem. We all talk too much.
We rattled a bit.
Wait,
Yeah.
Twitch streamers?
Yeah.
Wait, we talk the whole time?
Oh my God.
Twitch should.
And going off on tangents?
Yes.
That
I know,
never
we do.
happens. Getting more back on the main thing. So, what is probably the craziest thing that's ever happened to you guys on a stream?
Oh man,
Oh man,
I don't know.
I mean, the one you say that, and like I think the thing that pops into my head was we did a double header stream. We did like a 4-hour stream during the afternoon and another 4-hour stream in the evening.
Oh.
And it was one of those things where I don't know what happened. I don't know if everybody in chat got together, but they sort of decided that it was going to be a thing that we were going to add like sort of physical activity into our stream.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And,
Oh, no.
and so it was 8 hours of streaming, and then they were sort of like donating bits to us so that we would do push-ups and burpees. And I think it was like something like 160
Oh, we're
burpees.
talking about the
Yes.
record night.
Yeah, the record
What was it? Yeah.
day and night. It was like you did like 90 burpees in like the morning stream,
And then like 100
and-
some
yeah, something
later
like
on.
that.
Yeah.
It was something crazy. I did something like 40 push-ups or
Right.
something like that.
I mean, things like that, I think are great. I mean, I'd say like when it comes down to one thing, I mean that's the great thing about streaming is everything happens live, right? I mean, I'm sure we all have the tech stories, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
we got one of our
the kitty.
community members.
So
Sea
Sea
Otter
Otter
in
says
chat.
the kitty roller
The kitty
coaster.
roller
That's a
coaster, which is
recent
something
one.
new.
Oh,
that
wow.
happened.
At my kid's little plastic roller coaster, you can probably go see the clip. It's probably sitting right on the front page of our channel. I look like an idiot on a little kid toy.
Yeah.
But I'd say like, I think that's like a really cool thing about our channel. I mean, you know, viewers probably know better than us like the craziest moments because I think for us we just sort of play through them.
Yeah.
And have fun with it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
for us it's always the tech issues when everything breaks and you're like, oh, remember that night? Oh, the other night we were up and we had. So here's the streaming thing, talking about streaming
Yeah.
board game
Yeah.
and whatever. Well, we went live and this is completely out of our hands. We go up, we go live. I don't know, you might have been in the stream for this the other night.
Yes.
But our voices
It
were
was
lower.
awful. Yes, I
Somehow,
was
it was an
like-
encoding issue.
Like,
Oh, that's
imagine,
why.
Imagine
You were all
Macaulay
like
Culkin
this.
Yeah.
in Home Alone with the talk boy.
That's what it
going
sounded
like,
like.
"What?
Yes.
Oh,
And everyone in chat is
got
going,
it."
why, oh, cool voice encoder effect. And we're doing
Yes.
this for Bottom of the Ninth. And I've been wanting to do Bottom of the Ninth for like a long time, years. And like finally doing it up for Dice Hate Me, the last stream before TwitchCon. And I'm like, good, let's get Dice Hate Me games up. We're going to do this game real well. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh,
It
no.
just came out on Steam digitally. It's going to be great. We get up, and people in chat just wouldn't stop talking about it. And
Wow.
we're here. I'm like, do I sound good? Yeah. Do I sound good to you? Yeah, we're great. What are you guys talking about? For
Yeah,
about an
yeah.
hour and a half we're
Yeah,
doing this.
yeah.
Yeah, we actually had kind of a similar situation. It was a total like snafu on us.
Yeah.
We were streaming Pandemic Legacy, I think for the second or third time, and we're streaming it, and we're seeing like before we'd actually gotten some people watching it, and
Sure.
there's nobody.
Oh no, it
watching
was Kingdom
us.
Death Monster.
No.
Okay.
Oh, was it? Oh,
It was the second one.
Okay. In any case, we're like, we actually had some people watching us. What the hell is going on? Like,
Yeah.
why is nobody?
And
in
we
the
see
stream?
the number tick
No-
up and go away, number tick up and go away, number tick up and go away.
and nobody in chat is saying a goddamn thing. And we finish the stream, and we're done, and we play it. We play it back, and we realize we had no fucking audio the entire time. Not a single thing.
That's when we first learned to always do an audio test.
That was my first stream.
And it
Yeah.
was
No audio.
No audio. That's a very common thing.
Oh,
Happens
it's
a
the
lot.
worst.
it was so embarrassing, and it's like nobody in the chat. Somebody in the chat could have gone, "Hey guys,
No one said anything.
where's
Oh,
your audio?" Right?
Oh my God,
Not a
that's
single-
I don't think they
that's
knew
like
that there was
when you,
supposed to be audio.
Yeah.
Because we do ours remotely, so we do our cameras and stuff through Skype, and like I'll have a coughing fit or something. I'll mute my mic and then never turn it back on.
Oh no! Oh, we had another one time when we were doing a pandemic video. So when we did pandemic, this wasn't live streaming. This was our pre-live streaming days. We would cut the stream. One of our people had a habit of muting our conference room mic when we did so. We came back a couple times and I see it's red and I'm like, oh crap. Oh crap.
How long have we been up?
Yeah, basically. Oh no, well, too late now.
Yeah.
Especially with the legacy game, you ain't reversing that.
Right. What would be
Which
your?
would have been nice because we were terrible at Pandemic Legacy. We screwed up a basic rule the entire time we were playing it until like 4 games from the end, and we were like, well, man, if we'd actually been applying that rule correctly, maybe we wouldn't be in
Oh
such
my God,
bad
we
shape.
have a
We've
similar
done that so many
thing.
times.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest ones that we had was like in the very beginning of us playing Zombicide and learning that game. We thought you had to roll to open doors, which you really didn't have to.
Oh, yeah.
And so we would just be sitting there, and it would be like a half an hour of just not getting through the door. As zombies started piling up on us, and we were like, this game is so hard.
I mean, now you actually have to do that.
Well,
while
now you have
playing.
to do that
Now
while
they actually
playing.
have.
Now,
Yeah.
now, though, the coolest thing is you will catch the most weirdest moments ever that no one would ever believe you had happened
Right.
unless it was recorded live.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like, so the two that come to my mind for us was one, Pandemic Legacy.
Okay.
We're towards the end of the game. We're in like November or something. We open up the box and all the cards are in Japanese.
And we didn't know at that
man,
time that was a
that's
known
good.
issue.
They had shipped a small percentage of the games with cards in a different language and one of the
no.
unlock
What did you
boxes.
guys do?
She knows Japanese.
Oh my God!
So I'm like
That's
sitting here
amazing.
and I'm like, I don't know this word, but I'm betting from context, I just learned the word vaccination. So yay.
So she's translating
That's
all of the
phenomenal.
stuff live on the stream.
That's insane. That is
Yeah.
a cool moment.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really
Like
lucky.
we're so
Wow.
screwed right now.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and
Totally random.
don't worry, guys.
It's an
I know
I-
Japanese.
Yeah.
What do you?
specific skill that we need to
Yeah.
finish.
What are
Yeah.
you, EO? What did you just plug into the Matrix and now you know
Yes.
Japanese?
Now,
Yeah.
the most random thing was apparently most of the misprints were in Portuguese and we would have been fucked.
Yeah,
Oh,
we got so
wow.
that we got a Japanese misprint.
But
so.
like other things happened, like you're playing the game and like there was literally, we had an enemy down in Kingdom Death to one hit.
Oh god, that
And
was
we rolled
heartbreaking.
8 ones in a row. 8 ones in a row.
I feel this pain.
Yeah.
I feel this
That's
pain
just-
so hard.
And then the worst part was, we're sitting there, this was a recent one, we're sitting there and I'm like, screw it. I want this guy dead.
Yeah.
We have like 3 more hit chances on
Yeah.
him. We're gonna get one of these. We have to just roll a 3 or higher on all these hit chances
Yeah.
in order to hit him once.
Yeah.
And rather than playing the safe move, rushed in, I rolled a 1 and 2 twos.
Yep. That sounds perfect.
And then he
Welcome to
killed our
Yeah,
character
welcome to
and we
Town.
lost.
That's
Yeah.
how we roll.
Yeah.
And that's how we play Kingdom Death Monster.
And that's why we
I
leave
gotta
that to
tell
you.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
why we
yeah.
say this
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's
So
like-
we were playing Kingdom
Well,
Death
that's why
Monster.
we play hero mode now, right?
Yeah. But it was like 3 encounters in a row. We forged a weapon for me. We would go in and I would feed it to the monster. like it was frail or they would eat it. And then after a while you guys refused to give me weapons and you're like,
Yeah.
you're fist and tooth. From now on, no more weapons for you.
So what about you? What's some of the situations that you've experienced?
Either seen or otherwise done yourself.
Right. I don't know. I mean, mostly I'd say just when things absolutely go horribly wrong in a game,
Yeah.
and you're just sitting there. I'm going like, I mean, this is true of Arkham Horror, the card game, where things
Yeah.
just go completely south, and you just draw a horrible sequence. But to me, seeing all the ones that you roll, I mean, that becomes a meme.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and the failure, I mean, for me, it's mostly, just boneheaded mistakes on my part, or
We
just
do that too,
horrible
right?
luck,
Oh, yeah.
right? I mean, those, to me, that's what adds drama.
And
Yeah,
I
to
think
the show.
I think exactly what you're touching on is what you said, that when we started doing this as like an experiment, just to create a project, was that the things that we do in that game night, right?
Right.
These stories, you go back to your game group, or you go to work the next day, and no one, whether they play Kingdom Death or not, or whatever,
Right.
the fun thing to do is we've recorded this to the world.
Yeah.
So whatever happened with the kiddie coaster, the errors, or like you rolled a bunch of twos, you couldn't open a door, you played for 6 hours, then lost the mission, and they're like, you literally just lost. And it's like,
I'm going to be really careful how I explain this one because of the nature of it, but one of our recent game sessions of Kingdom Death Monster, and you guys have played the game so you'll know exactly what I'm referencing, there's a specific hit location card for the White Lion. And she has a habit, she shuffles our hit location deck and keeps putting the trap card near the top. But so we have that problem too. But literally, we had like 4 attacks in a row as a result where we kept trying to take off a very personal part of the White Lion.
Yes.
And we kept failing. Oh no, it wasn't the White Lion. No, it was the Gorm. No, we kept punching the very personal part.
The Gorm Storm.
We call it the Gorm Storm.
Yes, you don't take it off, but you keep punching it. And you keep punching it over and over. And we kept doing that.
Yeah.
And like, it was hilarious on the stream, but even afterwards, we had a couple people on our Patreon that were like making jokes about it afterwards, like they couldn't believe what had happened.
But I love that, and I think the community loves that a lot too.
Yeah.
People, because you're part of it, right? I mean, like we're part of it, they're part of it, and I think what's cool about board games, I mean, and the video game thing too, everyone feels like, oh, I was there with Lyric when he, even you're sitting in a room with 35,000 people, you share a moment with a streamer, and with board games, being able to have more people around the table, now you're kind of part of this group, and you come to TwitchCon, or you go to PAX, or you go to like these things, you're like, oh, remember when we were all sitting there, and we were all hoping we'd get that crit to get through this mission, because I don't want to watch it again as a viewer, but it's like, we need to do this, and you failed again? It's like, why did you unfollow? Because I want to see you fail.
Oh, God. Yeah, we haven't been able to get a cat's eye. It's a very critical
we love the cat's eye circlet. Cat's eye circlet OP. Cat's eye circlet OP.
But now here's something else we've been starting to experiment with, mostly on non-Kingdom Death, but I don't know if you guys are as well. Twitch viewer interaction. Twist Gaming's awesome at this.
Yeah.
That's their big thing right now.
Like playing with chat,
you're saying? Having your viewers play with you.
Yep.
That is complicated. But it's something you can't do in video games. Right now they can drop loot boxes and stuff into the game.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
But with video games you can actually have your viewers play a character.
Oh, with board games.
That's something we can do with board games.
Chris does that a lot.
And I kind of love that.
I love it a lot. It's so hard to do.
Yeah.
It's finding like a balance of it, right? I mean, we've experimented. I mean, I think we've all tried experimenting with different things.
Yeah, I think one that works out pretty well for us is we'll play code names.
I was going to say, code names have been the most entertaining viewer participation streams I've seen.
So like we would be be Spy Masters, for example, and then we'll each get a person in chat to be
like a random person
in chat.
But they represent chat as a whole. So
they can all
kind
discuss
of
what they want.
But it's that person's final decision as chat. So it forces chat to work together, right? So it's like, okay, so here's the clue. All right, chat, you discuss.
Yeah.
And I look away, and then they go, when you're done, you say final, and the word. And it's like, okay, that's it. He chose it. That was Sea Otter chose, car. It's like, and then we do it. So. Yeah, you're right. I think that is probably one of the best ways we've found to do it with certain games. But we also utilize like Discord to swing in voice stuff, but that works more with like digital games.
Yeah. When we're playing sort of, we're talking about doing Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia. So the digital versions of analog games. Then we can use Discord or other.
And let a viewer or something come in.
Exactly.
We've tried it with Zombicide where we strictly we did an experiment where we're not going to use voice chat. And this was a while back, and we said, okay, here's our characters, here's chat's characters. Now, chat, we kind of did it like code names, I think. Like someone but the delay was larger at that time.
Yeah, it was like
it later on.
It was like a 30-second delay.
Yeah, it was like,
we came in after they went to 8 seconds, and that's still tough.
It's tough, right? Yeah. It's tough, and like it kind of works, but because a lot of people can't get on voice chat, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people you want to play with, like we have it as a sub perk that you can play games with us.
Yeah.
Well, some of those subs don't have a mic, or don't want to talk on a mic, don't want to have a camera.
I have CritCamp with Forged by Geeks on the background while playing Arkham or the card game or doing something else. I'm doing 9 things, and I'm not on Discord participating.
And we're bad at we've learned a lesson where I think we've done it with maybe code names or something. Like I'll see who's there, what subs have been in chat, and I'll just call them out. I'll be like, all right, it's your turn. And they're like, oh, I'm just like, go, do something. Come on, what are you doing? You're slowing us down. Everyone's waiting on you. And it's like, don't do that. And Lyle's like, don't do that.
Yeah, no, it's tough because it's like, you want to pick the right type of game to play with chat. Otherwise, the gameplay grinds to a halt. And you know, even though like people will come and watch you stream and watch you talk and stuff like that, it's still kind of about progressing that game. You know, you can have all the banter you want on the side, but you still got to progress that game forward. And when you're playing games with chat, sometimes like you have to pick the right one. Otherwise, it'll just grind to a halt.
Oh yeah.
And you can't move
Have you
forward.
guys been doing a lot of? I've noticed you have been doing actually a lot more chat stuff. I was in there the other day. Saw you guys doing a lot more. How's that been working? I mean, what have you been doing exactly for that? Like you do voting, right?
I've been experimenting with streaming a new board game, video game hybrid called Drop Mix.
Oh yeah.
Harmonix, this
The music
new game.
yeah.
And I've been trying to do play versus my viewers. It's a little challenging for us. If we had higher viewer count, I think it would work a lot better.
Sure.
But like, I've had a couple where it's like I go like 20 minutes with no one voting. So I end up basically playing
the
against
second
myself
player.
on the
Right,
screen.
right.
But when people are in there interacting, it's actually pretty cool and it can be pretty effective.
Right.
But one of the conclusions I've come to is to do something like that, you almost need somebody off screen that's monitoring the chat and processing, and I think that's what Twist does.
Yeah, with their proxy.
And they
Right,
basically
Twitch
go,
proxy.
this is what the person's doing, and they can
That's a great
control that.
idea. Yeah, that works really well.
But that's
Yeah.
really hard. It's hard enough getting two people together to play, let alone more.
And you're relying on folks. You're relying on a community of schedules and people that you've literally set out. Okay, we're playing bottom of the ninth. We tried to. We were going to do a chat and it fell apart. But we've said, you know, like we want to play against you, like Small World, for instance. We do that a lot with chat.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we're going to play Small
Oh
World.
my
You got
God.
who wants to be. You end up getting a lot of the same people because they're the ones who show up.
I should do a Small World with you guys sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh,
For
it's
one
so
reason.
fun.
Ratman, OP.
I've got the deluxe edition.
Oh, you do with the all the
I've
cool
got
stuff.
the full wood box with
Oh.
all of the 3D models for everything.
I think Reld, isn't it Reld? Or,
Reld has that
in our
too.
chat, yeah. There's,
it's
there's some
awesome.
people that
Yeah.
send us the photos of it. That thing looks cool.
It's
That's so cool.
insane.
That's really cool. But that game, for instance, talking about interacting with chat and doing games, that game's great.
It is.
Because there's no hidden information.
oh,
That's right.
It's
Right,
all on
yeah.
screen. The digital version or physical. I just don't technically own the physical version, and
Ah.
it just makes it easy with digital because people can be sitting in their bed on the iOS.
Oh,
Yeah,
And they
it's
listen
cross-
on their
it's
phone and then play on their iPad
cross-platform
with us, which
it's
is
not
awesome.
cross-platform.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
cross-platform
really,
with
really
PC.
great.
He's on Mac,
Okay.
I'm on PC, someone's on iOS. So you've got three different, you know, even Android. So you could have 4 different platforms all in one digital game.
Yeah, that's one of the huge problems, like with board game streaming in general,
Yeah.
that is difficult to overcome is competitive games. Like, because, you know, if you aren't providing the information to
Yeah.
the viewers, then they're not having fun. But
Exactly.
if you provide that information, then everybody who's watching, you know, knows what's going on. If you're monitoring chat, then somebody's like, oh my god, you just drew the perfect card,
Yeah,
Bob. or
It's a
Francis."
trust thing in a sense.
It's a trust thing, and
Yeah.
the way that we've gotten around that is we play a lot of co-op games. If you've seen our
that's us
stream,
as well.
Right.
there's a lot of co-op
It helps
games
to
where all the
remediate
cards
that.
are on the table and you're working as a team towards a common goal
Yeah.
against the game AI or
Yeah,
whatever.
like we avoid even co-op games that have hidden information too much because it just, even like Gloomhaven can be challenging because people don't know exactly
Yes,
what
you don't
cards
know,
you have left
right.
in your hand.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to get people to play. Like, we've got a second copy of that coming in, and I've been thinking about using that to do just like a stream with my viewers playing, but then it's like, oh man, that means I have to put 12 cards on the overlay
Yep.
that the viewers can
Right.
pick from.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about analysis paralysis issues.
yeah.
We
It's
call it the
almost
think
like,
tank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
you
call
get
it the
into the
think
tank.
tank, yeah.
It's like, get out of the tank, man.
Yeah, well,
Get
it's
out of
like
that
one of the
tank.
things that I plan to do with something like that is somebody like Heroic Logic, who's
Right.
regularly on our stream, plan in advance for him to control one remotely.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then basically,
I totally do that.
and
That's
yeah,
awesome.
basically,
Okay, cool.
I maybe even have like a Skype cam to him that just shows all the cards so he can decide
Right.
them.
We've done that we used to do that with Rum and Bones before we started
Oh, yeah.
utilizing other assets to make the cards happen for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
I used to take an iPad even and just put it on a little thing over the cards. I would have to look away and line them
yeah.
up, and he would
You
tell
would-
me
yeah.
the leftmost card, and I'd be like, okay.
So he
Well,
would get
that-
the cards. I would in on like a piece of paper be like, I have this card and I have this card, and be like, please pick the middle card. And then like if he had moved them around, I'd be like, no, that's not. the
And we
right
still
card.
run into that. Rum and
So
Bones
what
is
are
a
you
bruise.
doing now? I'm very impressed that you guys can play remotely.
Well, I was just going to say, the problem
Yeah.
with Rum and Bones is that you have tie deck, right? The tie deck, if no one's familiar, is like you have certain cards that you have actions that you can play at any time based on the scenario, the situation you're in, right?
Yep.
So you only usually have 3 or 4 of them at the beginning, and how we do that is I'll draw his cards if he doesn't have the tie deck, or like we were talking earlier about getting assets from a game. game developers to help put their games
yeah.
on air. We were talking about that, but I contacted Cool Mini. I was like, hey, can you just send me this piece of the game so that I could send the tie deck to Lyle, and then he can have his own tie deck. They were like, no. He has to buy the full game.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Yeah.
we're not going to send you just a deck.
Whereas I won't name names because it's risky to do so, but we've had a couple of games where the designer was published by a larger publisher, but was happy to send me the couple of components himself
That's cool.
to help
Yeah.
out that I was having trouble
Yeah.
producing
Okay.
myself.
Yeah.
And it can
That's nice.
it can definitely be helpful. A lot of the designers want help out.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But the thing is,
and I'm not bashing Cool Mini or not. It makes complete business
Yeah,
sense
yeah,
why
yeah,
they wouldn't do that.
yeah, they're worried about replication and stuff like that. Or,
Oh yeah, totally
sure.
too. And it's like, it's not cost effective.
Oh yeah, that too.
Why would you send me this part of the game when, no, I'm not going to break up our stuff.
It's very
Yeah,
publisher
exactly.
dependent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's but
tough.
streaming board games is probably like, this is the one thing like we talked about in the panel heavily, and you guys can probably attest to this, and you're just building up for the most part.
Well, yeah, I've discovered everything this involves.
So streaming video games, get an Xbox or PlayStation 4 pretty cheap, get an extra webcam or whatever method those systems have, maybe take like a laptop, pump it in, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Streaming video games, how hard is it to do for you guys?
Video games or
Board
board
games.
games?
Or board games,
Ultimately board games.
comparative.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's when you're talking about video games, it's doing a screen share and a webcam.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And because as the person playing the video games, all the information you need, it's all about information control.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
huge in your panel, which I love.
Right.
Thank you.
In a video game, it was like all the information that the player needs is right there
Yeah.
on the screen,
Right.
which means all the viewers are automatically seeing everything the player's seeing.
Yep.
There's no hidden information. Everybody sees exactly what's going on with board games. The thing that's the hardest part is, especially with complex games, there's a lot of things to show.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And you had a really great list on one of your slides, and it was basically like, even like number one, showing the objective of the
Yes.
game.
That's
You need
the
to
number
show-
one thing I
you
want.
need to show
What's the end goal?
what's the end goal.
You're
of
really
what
good
you're
about
doing.
that, too.
Number
Now.
two, you have
Yes.
to show the board and the pieces, and people have to differentiate, you know, what's happening and what the little pieces are. And sometimes
And which
you have
pieces
to
match to which player.
exactly
and-
character names, character cards. If there are cards involved, all of those cards, the artwork, the text, even. And then, like, on top
And
of
they
that,
want to
is-
see them clearly. They don't want to see like blurry webcam
yes,
video.
and then not only that, it's like your dice. Your dice, you have to roll them. You have to roll them within camera. You have to roll them so that they can see it.
Well, like for a long time, she had a problem where she kept rolling the dice, and they go to the very back of the board, and they were tiny dice,
Yeah.
and no one could read
Right,
the dice.
that's right. No one
So we got bigger dice, but even there, they were rolling to the back of the board, and they're harder to see. So she basically retrained to roll towards the front of the board,
Yep.
and it's like, but that involves literally you've mostly changed your rolling hand to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And one of the other things is, honestly, even with the stuff that we've done with Kingdom Death Monster, like, we still have a whole bunch of stuff that we don't have. Like, for instance, Death Star right now. Death Star reincarnated.
He's one of our characters.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, he has 3 fighting arts, 3 abilities, or excuse me, 3 disorders, at least 4 abilities. I think he might be up to 5, and none of that is on the stream, right? Because
it's not critical information
Well, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
for regular gameplay, but you still have to show that in some way when somebody needs to know that information.
Like
oh, by the way,
we've seriously talked about just putting up like a Google Docs thing that has all of our character information for all the characters, and people can just go reference it.
Right.
And having a link on screen.
That's a great idea.
Well,
yeah,
well,
but just have an
managing-
addendum.
But now we have to keep that up to date.
yes,
well, for me, as a viewer of many board game streams, I want to know, like, what is the objective? What are they trying to do? I know I'm not going to be able to have the time or the attention as a viewer
Yeah.
to absorb all the information. So what is the critical piece of information?
And what's the current
So
state of the
so
information?
to look at the state of the game, to drop in and say, what are the critical pieces of information to know the current state of the game? And then the game also has to have moment-to-moment entertaining moments that happen. So in the moment, you can appreciate what's happening, whether it's the one roll on the die or the missed
Yeah.
door, so that you have those instantaneous
Yeah.
wow moments. So
And now, as
Wyatt,
Sea Otter
wait,
just said on the screen, yeah, that's very true. That's actually one of the reasons why I think a lot of us, we love it when people do that.
yeah.
We're here, I mean, it's almost like we're in a symbiotic relationship with the designers and board game producers. we exist because they make great games.
Yeah.
And all of this work that you put into sort of information control and how your overlay looks and all that stuff, right? Like, it really is all background so that you can actually enjoy the game the way it's supposed to be played,
exactly.
right? And so you have to set this up right, and you have to make everything sound and look nice so that you can get full enjoyment out of the game.
Yeah, you don't want
that they can enjoy it as much as you enjoy playing.
And that's a very good
really
point.
what it is.
That's what and that's right, because you're not. I mean, like Sea Otter's saying, it helps people want to buy the game to get the same experience you're getting,
Right.
Yep.
which means if you're not having fun, they're not having fun. And I've run into, I don't know what games it has been. I mean, we always try to have fun with the game no matter what we're doing, because
Yes.
sometimes we say it's more than
It
the
can
game.
be hard though.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's
Yeah.
like, because you forced yourself into a weird way of playing the board game, right? Like
Yes.
some people play it, like I know Late Night Tabletop does this a lot, they play the game upside down. Like
Yeah.
they'll sit there with the cards
Oh,
this way
God.
to show the information to chat more.
Oh, God.
I'm
You know,
playing sideways. Everything's
you're playing sideways. I'm
Yeah.
playing the board sideways over here a lot of times,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at the game on screen and
Right.
more just manipulating.
And it's just rough because I'll be like, move my piece north, northeast, but to Chris, that's actually west, west, south or something.
yeah, and I'm
you know?
like,
Oh.
and then like so, and you really just have to, you get to a point where you're like, how uncomfortable am I playing this, and is it worth it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
am I now, like you mentioned something on the panel, like at what point are you now degrading the quality of your stream, the fun you're having, and potentially making the product that we're doing it because we want to promote something we
Well,
enjoy,
it's-
it's looking
yeah.
it look bad. We
Yeah,
don't want to
exactly.
do that.
I mean, the production aspect is like twofold, right? One is like you have to give enough information so that people can understand what's
Content,
happening,
yeah.
and you have to reduce as many distractions as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And that's where quality control comes in, because these distractions are breathing into a mic, or popping mics,
Drumming on the
or
table.
drumming on the table, or things like that, or out of focus edges.
Yes,
right?
oh God.
And things like that, which you guys was wonderful. Just spoke about all of that stuff on your panel, which I loved. I was just like,
Go watch that panel. Go watch the VOD.
Making me embarrassed over here. No, but cool. It's like, but even with all that work, weird stuff happens. Like our last Gloomhaven stream was going great, and then our Twitch system blue screen
Oh, that was terrible.
in the middle of the game. All of a sudden, I just noticed a bright light to my side. I look at it, I'm like, oh no.
And you just see the frowny face. Like your system has encountered a problem, and it's like, oh.
Oh no, oh no. And I'm on chat quickly. We'll be back. We blue screened.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, you're like, not like this.
Yeah.
Not like this.
Not like
Yeah.
this at all.
Yeah.
Or like there was one time we were playing
Oh,
it, and
we
also
were
my
like,
video
oh,
froze.
God, is the video dead?
Yeah.
Like, did we just lose the video that we were capturing in its higher resolution? Like, is that all gone? Have we lost? Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
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 But it's like, yeah, there's a lot of weird challenges that come into play. But it's like, also, but building up the audience. I used to stream video games. I was probably on path to partner in like 2 months at the rate I was going, but I didn't have fun. So I stopped and switched to this. The thing is, the interaction on board games is just so lively. It's hard to explain. I mean, like when I played video games, it was mostly, oh, wait till you see what's around the next corner, or that was a good shot, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
With this, it's like, I don't know, it's different to me, it feels like.
Well, one of the big things is that, you know, I was thinking about it, and I kind of realized that it's a little bit unfair to say it, but in video games, there's less likelihood that you're going to be wrong, right? Like in board games, there is ample ability for you to be wrong because nobody's really arbitrating your use of the
No.
rules, right? Like if
Yes.
we wanted to play Kingdom Death Monster, where like, you know, we could look through the deck every time we got a random fighting art, nobody's gonna stop us except maybe our, you know, our viewers who are basically like, come on guys, that's not even fun anymore, right?
Viewers would never let you get away with that.
Oh, no.
And yet they tolerate us playing hero mode.
Yes. But I
yeah.
think they've been tolerating us doing hero mode because we're facing harder enemies that we normally wouldn't have faced.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. Is also sometimes, like this is another thing we've learned. You play the games for fun. If you're not having fun, alter the game to have fun. If your viewers are liking you watching and play the game, they're still going to like you watching and play the game after you make some changes. Just be clear to your viewers what you did.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to get the more of the, you're playing it wrong. And I don't mind that, but it's a good thing to do. But we've made up our own little house rules in some games and stuff like that just to make it more interesting for streaming or whatever. And it works.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's educational too. I mean,
Yes.
speaking of like messing up rules. Like I would say, if you're getting into board game streaming, don't be afraid to. And it offers, and I always say that, like, we have the QC team and the mod team, people that know the games really well, or even the developers will come in, and it offers up an educational moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, because you could discuss, like, how do you think we've messed that up? Why? And then, okay, he's right. But why? Like, and then so everyone learns.
Prove it to us, why we made that.
And even
bad
on YouTube,
decision or
even
whatever,
if it's post the fact, like if it got by their, the guys who know the game now, YouTube, they'll come on, like, was it you saying that? The timestamp thing?
Timestamp.
So, like, that happens to us all the time.
Well, this is actually a guy that worked on Gloomhaven.
Yeah.
He, like, every one of our streams, he posts all of the stuff that we could have done more correct. And he's like,
that's actually pretty awesome.
At first he thought, like, I laughed and I joked about him on our next stream the first time he did that, and he freaked out. He's like, oh, I didn't mean to be a fan. I'm like, no, I'm joking.
It's just
love it.
amazing. Like, oh my God, you went through the entire thing and did a play-by-play.
I do love that feedback.
We
and
love
I love
it.
that instant feedback too, because you can, like, when you get those comments and stuff that quickly, you can make changes for the next stream.
Well,
and you can sort of like say, like, because we have this thing which is like, let's go to the mailbag. Like, we're gonna talk about some rules stuff that we got wrong and that we're gonna do differently this time.
That's
the other
actually
thing
an interesting idea.
The other thing that it's really great too is, like, a lot of times chat will have better ideas for you on how to showcase information, or be like, actually, we don't need to see that information. We need to see this other piece of information.
Which
and
you
then
talked about.
Yeah, and then we'll throw in, like, a little spreadsheet or something, like, in the corner of the thing. It's like, okay, this is what we're looking at.
Well, one of the more amusing things that we've had happen is playing especially new games. Like, when we were first loading up, like, Gloomhaven and stuff, people would pop on our stream and we were just lost in the rules. Because we've printed out all the facts, we've all read over the rules, everything, and we were just getting entirely lost. But we'd sit there and go, can we even do this right now? And we have a general rule of thumb. This isn't stated normally on our streams, but if we spent more than 20 seconds trying to figure out how we're supposed to do something or what we can do in the game, we just make best guess and do it. But oftentimes, even with the 8-second lag on Twitch, we're like, can we do this? And then we discuss it ourselves a little bit, and within that, like, once that 8 seconds is up, somebody's posted this is what you can do, here's the page in the rules, yada, 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 and we're like, thank God. Yeah. But other times we don't, and we just go forward, and then we find out, oh, we cheated, holy hell. Or we're like, now, how did that play out? I'd love to hear this one. So that you played a mission that required 6 players with only 4. Did that go better?
I think it
or
required
worse?
actually 10.
No, there was actually another mission.
It required 10.
It required
and
10
4.
characters, and it was like the first thing in that mission page that said, like, requirement 10 characters
Minimum.
But we're so used to playing like 2 to 4, like 2 characters, like a person or whatever,
Oh,
stuff like that. And like sort of base rules is like, okay, max 6. It's like, it's fine. Played it with 6, like, actually made it.
No, we did it with 4.
4.
We did it with 4, didn't we? Because we had a guest on, a painter. We like to bring on when people paint minis. Sometimes they do them for us, and we get to display their art. We do that. We bring them on and say, here she is. Check it. That was Flo. So Flo came on, and we had her on. But we actually said we had 4 characters, and if you're familiar with Zombicide, you can use 1 character each just to make the split easier. Versus saying, all right, you play 1, you'll play 2, and you play 2. That's weird. So I said, let's just each play 1. It'll be fine. It's a short, easy mission. But it was 10. And that's exactly what they're saying. And I think chat never even corrected us while we were doing it. They let us go through it for 3 hours, right?
Yeah, it was like
That's
3
why.
hours.
Yeah, they let us
We made it
control
pretty
us.
far, and I
We
just couldn't
finished
believe
it,
how
died.
much we survived, but then we died.
I was like, this is an impossible mission. This is they're like, you're supposed to use 6 more players. We're like, and then we played it with 10, and we're like, oh, that was really easy.
That was super easy, yeah. But that was great.
But those moments, those things happen. I think the big things are like the one thing we love, and what's great about doing the board is you're educating, you're informing people, you're exposing them to something cool.
Yep.
And that's the most thing. It's entertain and educate, which we always like to do, and we're learning too.
Yes.
It's like because you do get the people that are really serious rule people that sometimes come off very harshly, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, yeah, she's the worst. She comes into our chat. And but like, you do get people who come in and it's like, you're doing it wrong. I'm never watching this again. Or what's wrong with Matt? Why is he such a jerk with like Kingdom Death? Like, they'll go back to our Kingdom Death video like 2 years ago or whatever, and they'll be like, you're an idiot. You played this card wrong. Why would you even do that? I'm not watching. I can't stand him for that. And we're like, dude, bro, chill, bro. It's okay.
Chill.
Well, one of the things is that there's a little gray rage moment that I had on the stream because I think Twist Gaming was doing a stream during the Kingdom Death Monster Kickstarter. And during the thing, apparently they didn't resolve the murder card twice, even though it was like added to the next year on the timeline. And Poots tweeted out, like, murder can happen twice.
Poots is the creator of Kingdom Death Monster.
Yeah.
So, later on in the Reddit, I hadn't actually seen this exchange. Later on in the Reddit, somebody was like, oh yeah, you know, should I resolve the settlement event twice? And I go into the rules, and I'm like, no, you shouldn't resolve it twice. It says to draw it from the deck. It's already in play. Clearly, you can't draw it out of the deck, so obviously, and somebody comes in and they're like, oh no, Poot said murder can happen twice. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, Kingdom Death is the kind of game where like a lot of the rules are like, it can be very difficult to figure out how they interact. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And this was funny because I saw the rule and I'm like looking at it, I'm like, this is clear. The card is in play. You are supposed to draw it from the deck. It is not in the deck. Clearly, it cannot happen twice. And then it's like, I see the stream from Poots and I'm like,
No, you're like, that's what it is.
That's so funny because that happens all the time in a lot of the games. Like they'll go, what's the great thing about Board Game Geek is there's erratas that get added, right?
Yeah.
Or someone will say, well, I was in this forum and I found that they did a Q&A and that it's actually clarified this way. You know, and you're like, well, we didn't see that.
Yeah.
You know, I wish I could stay up. I would love to be able to stay up more on every game, you know, but once again, that's why we do this.
Yeah.
And there's so many rules added into, you know, whatever we're doing, or so many like extra information that everyone learns from.
well, and that's
You can
not
tell
in
your
the-
friends.
No, that's not in the fact. It's
Right.
just there's a tweet out
Right.
there of Poots saying.
And how would you know that?
"Murder
Yeah,
can
yeah,
happen
yeah.
twice."
And you look it up on the forum, and then you
And you would
find
have
out
to
that
Sure, it's in the
someone
fact
quotes
now.
that.
Oh, it's in the
no,
fact now, sure, right.
No,
right.
I don't think it's in the fact now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's in the fact. You'd have to know that you have to
It's
go
on
to
Google
Poots'
search.
Twitter
Yeah.
and go, murder can happen twice.
I think we ran into that even with Kingdom Death, and I think like Matt's friend went to Gen Con or whatever,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he ran into Poots, and in person he said some rule of clarification, like just words, not written down. It's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh no, you can do this, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, well, do you have fact? Like, is there?
Yeah.
Bye, Slaughter, thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's funny. That's funny. It's funny to hear all that.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah.
we probably need to start wrapping up.
Sure.
So let's start with Heroic Logic over here. You haven't been talking much. Sorry
No.
about that. But so you've got a new stream you're starting up soon. Want to give a little
CardboardReality, I've
pitch for
started
it?
Yeah, CardboardReality. Goal is to, so for me, I'm a big, very passionate about Arkham Horror, the card game. So combining Arkham Horror, the card game, with augmented reality, so you see visual effects, sound effects, and 3D objects live, moving with the card game as I play.
Which
That's
sounds
so-
really
yes.
cool.
It's
Like, I
awesome.
mean, we saw a little bit of that
Yeah.
Right.
on your
Looks super
computer,
cool.
like
Right.
during the panel, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. I loved it.
Yeah,
I
and
thought it
especially
was
like
so
everybody's
cool.
like, oh, that's really cool. And then I was like, and you can even move the cards, and you shift one of the
And
cards.
everybody
and
went,
we literally
oh!
went, woo!
Oh wait,
Audible.
yes,
You're in a physical space.
yes,
Yeah.
this is the real world.
Yeah, I think that's the coolest thing that you're working on. Are you going to do the development of it, like stream it, like as you're developing, or what is your like? I would love to see. I mean, I know you probably can't
Right.
stream the development, like.
Well,
building
I've
and
wondered about
coding.
streaming the development because there are people who stream their
Yeah,
development.
yeah.
And
It's cool to watch.
but this is so experimental. It's pushing so many limits.
Yeah.
I think this is
and-
the future of board game streaming. I think
I
this
believe-
is what will
I
draw
believe so.
the video game audience into board games.
Especially on Twitch, a platform
Yeah.
that launched off of the video game thing, and we were talking about that too. That, and I was saying for us, what we would love to see, and what you're working on does, is it keeps a physical world.
Right.
You get into Tabletopia or Tabletop Sim, like we were doing Kingdom Death, right? It's fun, we can do it, it makes it flexible because we didn't want, like, you know, one of the guys owns the game, but we didn't want, you guys go out of your way to build this big setup. We're like, we just want a quick burst play it because we want to experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a separation
Yeah,
between like with the audience and seeing that because your hand isn't in the shot, even though
Yeah.
sometimes, but there's
Yeah.
no physical. And you just, I don't know if it's a subconscious thing or something. It's not there. Just the same way you would see a face on screen and you hear the voice and you see their face, you see the expression. That works in a physical board game. But if you bring this out, you see his hand move a physical card, but
Yeah.
yet there's this. Even if it's a door, like I was telling
Right.
him with
Yeah.
Zombicide, if you put that on the Zombicide board as a door and the door opens,
Yes.
you know, because he has this awesome
You hear
triggers
it
with
creak.
sound. How
That's
cool would that
so
be? And I don't have
cool.
to set up 3D doors.
Yeah,
like,
so all you'd have to do is lay out the door tokens.
Which never worked.
His thing would detect the
Never.
door tokens, put doors all around,
Right.
and if you flip the
Yeah.
door token to the open side, it would
It
go,
would
oh,
trigger
open
a
door.
thing, yeah.
As it puts out the open door, it plays the sound.